In Ohio, my state of Ohio right now, where I am living, hopefully not forever, a gun bill, including a sweeping, quote, stand your ground immunity provision, has advanced in the Ohio House on Tuesday, passing the House committee 7-4, and then later passed the full House on Wednesday 62-27, in spite of objections that came directly from the state law enforcement community. The state Senate has yet to consider the bill, but it is expected to pull through because, well, we're a majority Republican-ruled state, and our governor, John Kasich, is also a Republican. The NRA is, of course, backing this bill, which mirrors the counterpart in Florida and 21 other states which currently do authorize deadly force without a duty to attempt retreat. The bill also includes provisions which would reduce the training necessary from 12 hours to 4 hours for getting a concealed weapons permit.
Nothing
Opponents
bad will happen
flooded
there.
Right. Opponents flooded the governor's office with calls on Wednesday with pleas to veto the bill. We don't know what's going to happen at this point. Kasich has gone against his Republican peers before, specifically for health care, but it's not looking particularly good. So, what are your thoughts on stand your ground laws and the implementation in Ohio?
I mean, it's just kind of the same old story, right? Like we're for whatever reason, I don't understand why, but we're obsessed with our guns. We gotta have our guns all the time, and I, I don't know. I don't know why. And the federal we just had the filibuster reform happen recently, yesterday I think,
Yep.
which is great because remember after Sandy Hook, one of the reasons why the bill did not go far, why the bill did not get an up or down vote, is because it was filibustered. In my humble opinion, why would you filibuster something like that? At the very least, let that come up to a vote. If you want to vote it down, fine. If you live in a red state, or if you believe in guns, if you believe in the Second Amendment as ardently as some of our Republican friends do, then whatever, just give it an up or down vote. But I mean, you know, these open gun shows, the extended magazines, the just on and on and on. And I get in fights all the time. I live in Louisiana, so you can imagine like a guy like my kind of way of thinking. I mean, I just get you know, like people are like
It's probably what Sean is feeling right now.
Well, I
oh,
got I
that's
got
fine.
I got bad news because the filibuster reform, it did go through, but it only
Yes,
applies to
yes,
presidential nominees that
yes.
aren't going
That's
to the
right.
Supreme Court.
That's
So
right.
legislation's still gonna basically go the same way.
That is
But to
Right.
unless, of
me,
course, the Republicans follow through on their threats and get control of the Senate, in which they say, "Oh, you want to go nuclear? We can go more nuclear than you,
uh,
and we can get rid of it all when
thermonuclear.
we're in charge." So yeah, you can't filibuster anything. But off topic.
But
Yeah,
I think
but
Rihanna, I think what's eventually going to happen is kind of what's happening in Florida right now, where they kind of saw the evils of the stand your ground law. They saw kind of the bad part of it. It sounds good on paper, but it's one of those things that just doesn't work very well in the real world. And I think since that national trial got so much attention, that again the pendulum swinging back towards a progressive attitude. Not Chris Christie. Charlie Chris is his numbers are through the roof as opposed to Rick Scott, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think people just, you know, there's people are starting to wake up and go, yeah, I mean, we like our guns, we don't want to be like to have all the guns taken away, but at the same time, there's got to be some common sense regulation behind it, which is more from the 80% universal background checks. So
well, I mean,
it's just one of those things that have to run its course, right?
stand your ground wasn't used in the Zimmerman case. Like, despite popular opinion, what stand your ground is a pre-trial defense. That basically what it's meant for is if it's really obvious that you or if you believe that it's really obvious that you were using self-defense, then you go through before a judge, and it's a way for you to avoid the trial, right? And it's supposed to be for clear-cut cases. And George Zimmerman actually waived his right to that stand your ground hearing. So even though it's talked about a lot, that really didn't impact the case.
I
What impacts
understand.
the case is the idea that if you have a duty to flee or if you have a duty to retreat. right? Which is it's in self-defense laws, and it's different in some states. In my state, you have a duty to retreat, and in Louisiana, you can stand your ground, or you don't have a duty to flee.
You have a self-defense mechanism.
Right.
Right.
I actually agree that you should have no duty to retreat in cases of self-defense, as long as you're in a place that you're legally allowed to be in, because I think it leans more towards the idea of innocent until proven guilty. Because if you have a duty to retreat, that assumes you're guilty for defending yourself, in my opinion. And that's why I agree with it in principle, but it depends on how the law is enforced. It depends on how fair the hearing is. Like if
It
it's
also
the way,
depends on what's written into the law as well.
yeah, it depends on the language of the law. But from the way I figure it is, it's better to be assumed innocent in a self-defense case than to be assumed guilty. And in New York, if I defend myself on the street and the police decide or the prosecutor decides that I should have ran, I just don't think that's right.
But wait, hold on. You have self-defense laws. Like, what weird magical case are we discussing where if somebody pulled a gun on you, and what are you suggesting that we have duels? You have to understand how kooky this sounds to somebody who doesn't live in America. Like, I really don't understand. What is the okay? Give me your example.
I'll give you an example. If you're getting carjacked, right? And
Right.
And in some states you have a duty to you have a duty to retreat. So you're expected to give up the car, right?
Right.
Because but in other states you don't have a duty to retreat. So if you fight back and something happens while you're trying to keep your car or whatever, then you're assumed innocent rather than assumed guilty. Like it's like before we had the castle doctrine, which I think most people agree with the castle doctrine in principle. When somebody enters your house, what would happen is if somebody comes into your house and you fight them off and they get seriously hurt, you could be held responsible, even though you're defending your house, because people would.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, A, this doesn't happen a whole hell of a lot. B, there's not a lot of statistical proof that this is actually working for people. Like, most of the cases the NRA trots out are cases where somebody was actually a trained officer in the past or has some military training, and that's how they magically became John Wayne and stopped something from happening. 9 times out of 10, crossfire is not the way to, take down a situation. So I think that's the number one thing. And plus, on this bill specifically that we're talking about, it's things like this that blow my mind. They're taking 12 hours training, I believe, down to 4 for a concealed weapon. Like, that's one of the things. It's like training time to obtain a concealed carry permit is from 12 hours to 4 hours. So, like, to carry a weapon is now like a Sunday afternoon, and if you could probably get home in time for the 4 o'clock game, that's that's a little kooky.
Right? Especially when you look at an example of, and I know I'm probably going to get heat for this example, but you used to have to spend more time getting your driver's license.
Of course.
When you have a gun.
Right.
That's a little weird because a car is also a very deadly instrument, and so is a gun. But a gun is designed to be a deadly instrument. A car is designed to get you back and forth.
Well,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
a concealed weapons permit like that's up to the state to decide what the limit is. I'm not a fan of concealed carry. I actually prefer open carry. If you're like to me, hiding the people who in all seriousness, like the people who hide guns, like the people who hide guns are usually people who have a reason to hide guns. Like but open carry, when you have it in a holster, I think it's much better than a concealed carry. Concealed carry seems a little too just weird.
But why do you need a gun? Period. End of sentence. Like walking down the street. Like I don't understand.
Let me see.
I don't need a gun.
Well, yeah. Let me see if I can maybe try to clear it up as much as I can. But I live in Louisiana. It's a red state. People love their guns. Swear, like all you hear all day is like, Obama's coming. I know it. He's gonna come to my door. He's gonna take my guns. I swear to God, that's what he's gonna do. But and seriously, that's all it is over here. But when you break it down, people just really feel safer if, like, in the back of their mind, they feel safer. But what they don't understand, what they don't logically come to the conclusion that if you have a gun, you're complicating things exponentially. Like, we take the carjacking incident, for like before. So if somebody comes and like pulls out his gun and jacks my car, well,
I'm out
you know,
of there.
as a citizen, regardless of what the state says I can do, as a citizen, I have two choices. I can either surrender my car and cut my losses and say, hey, my life is much more important than my car.
And don't you
Or-
have insurance to cover that anyway?
I do, right. That's exactly right. So the second thing I could do is I could pull out my gun and I
Right.
could
Not
point it
gonna
at him and shoot him in the face, and then he could shoot me, and then we could shoot each other. But
You have a
now,
gunfight.
right
That-
now we got two dead souls when we could have just had one lost car.
Right.
So
But that example is like I hate that I hate when Republicans ignore the fact that if somebody pulls a gun on you first and gets the drop on you, then there's really nothing you can do. Like
Yeah,
so
you're not like Rambo.
I get your example. If I'm sitting in my car and somebody points a gun at me through the window, I'm not gonna be like, all of a sudden I have super speed and I'll draw up my gun faster than yours, and
Right.
like that's not gonna happen.
1 second, I just need to see the.
But Sean, that I can tell you that's the way these people think. And I like they're my friends, they're my family. I deal with these people all the time, but that's the way they think. It's like if I just carry a gun in my glove compartment, if something happens, I'll have enough time. You saw it with the Sandy Hook stuff where it's like, oh well, I got a great solution for that. Let's just arm the teachers. Well, we can't have the teachers with the open guns because some kid might find. Okay, fine. Let's just put it in a safe. Well, okay. Well, like if you have a Adam Lanza coming in or whatever. Okay, well, let me hold on for a second. Let me open my safe or let me open my closet. Let me get in there. Okay, now we can proceed. That's not the way things work. Now, guns are necessary evils at some point, right? But we just have to understand as a society that guns do nothing more but complicate matters. If you like things simple, don't have a gun. If you like things complicated, by all means, get a gun. But that's the kind of disconnect that we experience down here.
And it's so far away from what they originally set out to be, the right to bear arms. I mean, like you talked about the teachers and stuff, right? Where they're talking about like safe rooms now. And one of the craziest things we saw, we did this on the show back a couple months ago, where there was a conference, and the guy was like, you know where you need your gun safe? In your kid's room. Because you know where the first place you're going to go when an intruder comes in your house? You're going to run for your kids. So it makes sense to have the guns in there. And you just, like, that's where we're at in this debate. It's no longer like you have the right to protect some weird, I don't know, by the way, in 2013, how you're ever going to stop the government from doing anything anyway. When they're drones versus what? Like your, rifle? I don't understand. But forgetting all that, I mean, that's where we're at. We're at these weird little bylaws where it's like, let's go down from a 12-hour to a 4-hour training. Let's make sure you can buy as many guns in a week period as you want. Like, it's no longer, militia-style stuff. It's getting into weird NRA kind of wet dream stuff.
Yeah, it's like let's not inconvenience the guy who wants to buy a gun. Let's not inconvenience him in the slightest because the Constitution says shall not be infringed. It means that if I have to wait 12 hours, I am being, as opposed to 4, I am being infringed. And you know what? Maybe I should just get it instantly.
And Jeff,
I am being infringed.
And what's the reason behind that? Because the NRA works for the gun manufacturers, and the gun manufacturers see more profits. The more people have guns, the bigger their profit margin. And the country is ruled by corporations. That's what it is. Democracy is completely dead. We just have no democracy. It's a state ran by corporations. How do you solve that? Go to www.wolf-pack.com. Get involved with going through that. So that's my little plug right there.
Right. I have one more solution for you. If you could somehow combine the gun nuts and Black Friday, you might.
Oh no!
You might have a solution.
Oh man! Hey, thanks for watching this video. Please leave a comment below, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and share with your friends. If you want to see more, go to our channel at youtube.com/tytnation, and if you really want to support the show, support this channel, go to our fundraising campaign at www.patreon.com/tytnation. The website is in the description below. Thank you guys, and keep watching.